Canadian Organic Standards. Is that Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, the organic sector, or the Canadian General Standards Board?
That's the one.
What?
Canadian General Standards Board.
Any other opinion?
I think Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada.
Food, yeah. Any other ideas? Okay. See, it is the Canadian General Standards Board. The Canadian General Standards Board is an agency inside the Government of Canada that takes care of standards. So the Canadian Organic Standard is called a national standard because it is under the supervision of this, what we call CGSB. So when we review the standard, we have to follow their rules, we have to have working groups, we have to have transparency, we have to have discussion, we have to vote. So it is the Canadian General Standards Board that oversees the process of writing and reviewing and maintaining the standard. So the intellectual property belongs to CGSB. This is a question the CB asked me to ask you. Can parallel production be allowed if management to avoid commingling is documented? Parallel production, to give you the perfect example, is that if you have a field of wheat, organic wheat, can you, besides of it, grow non-organic wheat on your farm? Yes? Some yes?
No.
Some no?
I say no. And if it is yes, it should be no.
You're right. It is no. It is, and it is, I would say, quite an issue in Saskatchewan, because if you are a conventional farmer and you want to become an organic farmer, and you have 1,000 acres of wheat, you have to transition 1,000 acres of wheat at the same time. You cannot have a step-by-step process to learn it, so you cannot transition like half of your field to organic while having the rest of the field under the conventional management you were doing before. So it could look a little risky when you start, but you can have, because the crops are visually the same, but you can have a field of organic wheat and a field of non-organic corn, because you can distinguish them visually under your transition period, because all organic growers, they have to convert their whole operation. But what people do in the province of Quebec, where I come from, they create different companies. So you would have a field that is company number 11112, and the neighboring field that would be 22223. Different companies. So they go around the law by doing that.
Can I just ask, in Saskatchewan, has it always been that way, or is this just recent?
It has always been that way. When we did the review, we have completed the review of the standard, and there were huge discussions to allow parallel production, because, like, for example, in Saskatchewan, to convert your whole fields is quite a challenge, but and in the United States you can do that. In the United States, if an inspector checks your field, they just see the field that you're growing. They don't check what you're doing besides of it. So you say this field with this there is organic. They check what you do with this, but they don't check the rest. So sometimes Canadian growers, they feel they are, it's not that the U.S. growers have an advantage over them.
At the same time, I mean, it just makes sense to not allow parallel production. It just keeps people more honest.
But and you're right, but also some producers would say, well, do they always think we are fraudulent and that our objective in life would be to cheat and to make things wrong? But the certifying bodies are reporting that it is really an issue, because when you want to get certified, you have to have an organic plan. And in your plan, if you think you will grow the same crop, you know, side by side, organic, non-organic, you have your plan is rejected. And yeah, but this is for crop. If you raise livestock, you can do parallel production. It's different for livestock.
Because you just tag them differently, right? Is that why? Because you can tag, say, organic cows one way
Yeah.
and non-organic cows another way?
Yeah, and it was also done to help breeding, because it's difficult when you have livestock to find animals that are raised organically since they
Right.
were in the belly of the mother. So you can have like a male for reproduction that is not organic on your farm for reproduction, for example.
Right.
It is because it is to help, you know,
Yeah, to build up your
building,
supplies.
populating your livestock.
How does that work though, when you have, I mean, organic and non-organic cattle? How does that work though for feeding? Like how can you prove that it's
But
feeding
the thing is that, no, but the thing is that usually even if you bring in like a male for reproduction, it will never be organic, but it can feed on organic food as well. But if you really have like 10 non-organic cows and 10 organic, then you have to demonstrate to your inspector, to your certifying body, that you are really preventing commingling. You have to show your system. Oh, it is serious business.
So if you're doing that with your livestock, are you eligible then to have parallel production on your cropping
No.
part of your farm? No, that would be like a separate function. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, totally separate. Yeah,
I wasn't sure
Like-
what you meant when you
like
said
just-
parallel production is allowed, whether you meant on the cropping side as well. So
No,
I'm glad
never.
to hear that.
never,
that
never,
is
never.
not the case.
It's like, for example, just to give you about livestock. So, for example, you have dairy cows. So, one cow has a mesmitis. So you can give antibiotics, but then the milk from that cow has to be withdrawn from the milk of your herd. So usually they put a red ribbon around the leg of the cow. So the milk coming from that cow for 30 days at the minimum cannot be sold as organic. So it's the way livestock is the most difficult thing to do, I think, in organic production.
I have a question, because here we don't do hardly any dairy, so sometimes I find the standards is hard because it's really geared a lot towards the dairy, it seems like. But in a beef production, if you had a cow that got, say, sick, and you had to give it antibiotics for a long time, then it just has to come right out of organic production, right?
Yeah.
It's tagged and can no longer be sold as organic.
But you can give medication
Yeah, you
to
can
slaughter the meat animals, but not antibiotics. You're right.
And then-
Your system, if it is for meat, but for dairy, there is a kind of derogation. Yeah.
That was the one
And the
question.
calf also has to be non-organic?
If she's pregnant, you mean?
No, if she's had a calf and she's sick. Like if you give antibiotics to the calf automatically is non-organic.
If the
as well,
calf is
right?
still nursing.
You
Yeah.
have to segregate.
I would have to check, because there are so many scenarios, and I would have to think a little, and I don't want to pitch wrong answers. But it is an issue, could be an issue.
We had an inspector come to our property. We actually do our organic inspection certification with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. And they have the cattle side, and we have the grain side. But it was discussed with the inspector. The inspector felt that if an animal that was organic got an antibiotic, that they can return that back into organic production. And
No, they can't if it is for meat.
Okay, and because they don't do they're not dairy, they're strictly a meat.
Exactly.
And they were told that possibly that they could return it back after 30 days or 90 days, that they could possibly return it back into, okay. so
For
that's-
some of the type of medication, yes, but not for antibiotics. It's very severe.
Okay, because but depending on the medication, other than antibiotics, you might be able to.
Yeah, but
Checking on
Yeah.
what's the regulation allows and okay.
listen, I have 30 questions. We can just open discussion, but if you want, because if we go into specific cases, come to me after, because otherwise we won't do it, and it's already 11:20. Is there a specific format required for record keeping?
No.
No, good.
The last question was very important.
The previous
Especially over there, that's
Excuse me.
like,
Okay, when if you are already certified and you decide to add a field to your operation, do you need the 12-month visit from your CB, and you say to your CB, I will grow, because when you are growing crops, you have to be under the supervision of the CB since 12 months. So it is an existing operation. Do you need what is the transition period when adding new fields to an existing organic application? 12 months or no transition period?
No.
No,
We're told
no?
an existing operation.
36 months chemical for
36 months.
No, okay, the 36, yeah, if there is, okay, you have to, you're right, excuse me, you have to prove that there were no prohibited substances in that field for 36 months. But if you are an existing certified operator, you don't need to get to a CB in advance to say, well, I intend to grow, to add, I don't know, 50 acres to my field and blah, 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 that is my plan. You don't need to do that stuff, because you are already certified.
that would be
So there's no TR1 and TR2 status anymore then? Like transitional one?
Okay, this is a transition, it is about paperwork. It is not about what, so when you are not certified and when you want to become certified for crop, you have at least 12 months before you sell your product as organic. You have to be under the supervision of a certifying body. You have to have your organic plan and show what you're doing. If you are already certified and you want to add fields to your operation, you don't need to do that. This is a 12 months, it is a kind of regulatory thing. It is not about a practice, an agronomical practice, but you need to be able to prove that there were no prohibited substances in the field that you are adding to your operation since 36 months. Yeah?
But the transition period is still 36 months if it's a conventional.
Yeah.
And you
Oh
have-
yes,
and-
oh yes,
Yeah,
oh
you
yes.
have
Yes.
parallel storage of visually different crops, correct?
Repeat that.
Yes, as long as it's
Yeah.
Just to clarify that, that's.
Oh yeah, it's very clear. No, yeah. Excuse me. Bon. What level of GMO would be acceptable in seeds used for production under organic standards? None? Zero, you're right. Organic production relies on crop rotation. Does the definition of crop rotation mean that that growing the same crop 2 years in a row is inadmissible? No? So yes, you are not forced to rotate everything every year. But you have to have a plan that shows that you would not grow the same crop 5 years in a row. So anyway, your land would suffer, I guess, your yield. Buffer zones, we like this one. This is usually you're supposed to have an 8-meter buffer zone around your field. Remember that crop from buffer zone is not organic, neither if it is for feeding your livestock. So could a buffer zone larger than 8 meters be required in special circumstances? For example, when prohibited substances are being applied on the windward side of the organic crop. Yes? Yeah, you have to, what is it? Noticeable, well, it depends on what you mean by noticeable. Is it testing? Is it visual? They are. But visual, sometimes you don't see it is, you can do this by testing, but if you have when you have, the buffer zone is minimal. So if your neighbor is intensively spreading pesticides and the wind is blowing everything on your side, you may be required by your inspector, your certifying body, to do something to help.
So what would be the new buffer zone in that case?
There are different strategies. You can have a larger buffer zone, but sometimes it's not very efficient. You can have plant trees or what they call border rows. So you have different rows that you grow something that is higher than your crop, so it protects. You can have, there are different methods to help protecting. Against pesticide could work a little, but again, pollen, we'll see it in another question. It is more complicated because there are millions of molecules of pollen when it is a drift from a GE crop. That is a question. Crops at risk of contamination from GE crops shall be protected from cross-pollination. It is a new clause in the standard. What is a recommended isolation distance to prevent contamination of organic corn by neighboring GE corn fields? There is a note in the standard that is recommending a distance, so that if your organic corn is inside, is the distance between your organic corn and the GE corn is smaller than that, you have to take big measures. How do you think that this distance is? 3 kilometers. Well, I don't think there would be any more organic corn in Saskatchewan.
How much corn here?
No? Phew.
Canola, though. So what would it be for canola?
There is no organic canola.
Yeah.
Almost no, because of cross-pollination, but for corn, that is 300 meters. But it's not, first of all, it is a note, it is a recommendation. So your certifying body could say, well, 200 meters, that's fine. It is a note. So it's not
It depends on what your neighbors are growing, right? If your neighbor's not growing corn, your nearest neighbor that's growing corn is a mile away, then you would be fine.
Yeah, theoretically, but now the testing is so refined that sometimes, and there are millions of pollens that would drift out of the field, so it's very difficult. But the standard, the thing is that when they have revised the standard, yes, there was a GM working group who says, well, we have to protect organic crops, and we all agree with this. But then, if you impose measures that would make it impossible, it's not the way you will fight GE crops. If you want to have more organic crops, you have to make it feasible. So, and contamination is a big issue. So they have, it establishes that you have to show that you prevent contamination to your certifying body. If there are distances like this, if, for example, your corn is less than 300 meters from a GE corn.
So is it same with soybeans, 300 meters?
No, soya I think is 10 meters. Because it's not the same type of pollination.
And is there a distance for canola? Because some people do grow organic.
That would be, I think they wanted it to be, it is 3 kilometers, I think.
That's what I thought.
3.
Yeah.
But it's very, canola, it's very difficult to grow. But you have, you are still able to produce organic canola in Saskatchewan?
Well, I don't know about in Saskatchewan, but in Alberta and BC there is some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is difficult. Yeah, but at the same time, if you hide from, if you cannot grow it anywhere, what do we do? It's you lose it. So yeah, and there are no threshold in Canada. When they revised the standard, they decided not to have a threshold like they have in the EU. It is the same in the United States. It is contaminated. It is still an organic crop because they certify you because you followed the organic practice. you apply the organic principles, you use the right substances to fertilize your soil. The contamination is not because you did it. If they would prove that you are the one who bought GE seeds, and okay, this is different. But if you followed all the directives to get certified, you're still organic. But I am aware that when you sell to the EU and where they do intensive testing about GE, you may have issues. Yeah.
Do they have a distance for alfalfa yet?
3 kilometers.
For alfalfa? It's too
Yeah,
far.
it is bee pollinated. Is the operator required to obtain pre-approval for use of non-organic feed during a catastrophic event? No. No, if it is an emergency, no, but you have to notify your CB as soon as possible if you don't, just to verify if you're still compliant.
Does that include flooding?
Yeah, and catastrophic events. It has because of the catastrophic event, you have to be unable to feed your livestock with non-organic feed. And can GE feed be temporarily fed during a catastrophic event? No. So you have to have a plan B that excludes GE seeds. We have a GE expert in the room here, that is Lucy, that I encourage you to see tomorrow. She would be a great speaker.
And you can only feed the temporary for 10 days, right? Is that
Yeah.
right?
Maximum of 10 days. But that could be, I work for the Organic Federation of Canada. If I hadn't had the problem with the screen, I would. We have a website where we run the Standards Interpretation Committee, and we have a lot of questions and answers. And we have been asked, like, if you have a problem and for 10 days you're not able to give non-organic feed to your livestock, but 6 months later there is another 10 days where you cannot feed it. Does it add, or is it considered separate? And the interpretation committee said it is separate. So you're still in business, in organic business. So a farmer would like to use manure from his neighbor's farm where 10% of the sows, I never knew how to pronounce this, are in traditional farrowing crates and not able to turn around. His farm has a nutritional deficit and no other manure is available within a reasonable distance. Is that allowed? I have this.
I'd say yes.
No.
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 No, and sometimes it's tough.
I would think the manure from 90% would be allowed.
Yeah. But can you put this away?
If it was kept separate.
Yeah. But even then, it's organic is a little more realistic, But I think yes, if you would, separate manure from the free run pigs and the farrowing sows in farrowing crates.
So the only
Probably.
difference is they're in a crate. They're not fed antibiotic feed or anything like that. It's just
They cannot
the
move.
fact that they're in a crate.
They cannot move. It is that they cannot move.
They
Yeah.
also can't be in the dark. That's another one of that too. They can't be in the dark and not moving. So it's that basically hard. Not like that for them.
Yeah.
It's animal cruelty kind of thing.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
So an easy one. One animal unit when in the standard it is 1 cow or 1 bull, or 2 cows, or 5 cows, each less than 100 kilo. How many another word I cannot pronounce, ewes? 3, 4, or 5?
1 cow.
Okay, 1 cow is right. 2 calves, 802 kilo up, or 5 below. How many ewes? 1 animal unit. It is to help to calculate the package, the pasturing and the space inside your barn. 4. Are Thai stalls prohibited? I know you, maybe I should have removed this one. You're not a dairy product. Yeah, but Thai stalls are still allowed if you allow exercise to your cows at a minimum twice a week. Yeah. But they have to have outdoor access in the summer season, but it is still allowed. They did that because the new generations are not building barns with Thai stall system, but some farmers, they are close to be retired, and it would be so expensive to renovate and or build a new barn, especially when they have not any replacement. So it is tolerated if you exercise your cows. Can a vitamin containing a synthetic preservative be used in livestock feed?
If it's on the permitted substances.
It is on the permit, on the PSL, the permit, yeah. Because it would be, we like purity, but if you had to know everything that is in all the inputs that you use, you would turn crazy calling the manufacturer who doesn't know when calling. So for vitamins, you have to let it go sometimes. Can microbial products such as probiotics grown on a GE substrate be fed to organic livestock? Big question. There are two. It could be if in the probiotic there is no residues from the substrate, so that the animal would not swallow GE feed. So if the probiotics is pure and has no residues from the GE substrate, that could be tolerated. But then you have to show to your certifying body that you had no other alternatives. It is also based on commercial availability. But if there is no substrate inside the probiotic, because it is a little flexible, because otherwise you wouldn't have it. You wouldn't find any. You are at risk of not finding any probiotics that would be suitable. In the case of antibiotic use in dairy cows, if the operator provides test results to show that there is no residue in the milk, can the compulsory 30-day withdrawal period be shortened? No. Now, free range. Your turn. Do you live chicken? This is a cartoon that I like very much. What is the limit of the size of layer flock, organic layer flock? No limit? 5,000 or 10,000 birds? It's new in the standard. Nobody has any idea?
Why would there be a limit?
Is there a limit based on?
Pardon me?
I said, why would there be a limit to it?
Animal welfare.
Huh?
If we were 10,000 people in here.
No, but I mean, you have to go with the standards by room size, right?
Yeah. No limit, 10,000? Any other suggestions?
Depends on the size of the building that you're in.
Not a bad argument. It is 10,000. No, it's because animal welfare. It's big like a cathedral, and then the noise, and it's just to have. But 10,000 is still noisy, I suppose. But their limit is there.
10,000 per
unit.
Yeah, but 10,000 per barn type deal.
Yeah.
You have multiple barns on your property.
Yeah.
Everybody's 10,000. So it's a 10,000 limit per.
An installation, a facility, kind of. And if you have another 10,000, they have to have different runs, outdoor. no noise, no, you know.
So how did they come up with that? Like, did somebody, like, well, how did they decide on 10,000?
They base that on the EU a lot.
Oh, is that right? Oh, so and is that based on some science, or
Yeah.
is there some science involved, or is it
Yeah.
just spitball?
When we did the review, it lasted two years. We had a working group that was dedicated to poultry, and it is a lady from British Columbia, Anne Macy. Maybe some of you know her name. She was responsible. She had a tough job. Discussions were very tough. And we hired an expert from the EU. Her name is Monique Bestman. She is the big expert in animal chicken welfare. She came in. We had an organic scientific conference in September in the province of Quebec, and she came. She was invited. She loves the chicken, so she showed us a lot of pictures and chickens in the woods and. It's marvelous, but then how can you make a living out of that? So, and some people wanted to have 5,000 as a limit. Some established livestock growers were saying, are you crazy? And that was very tough. Finally, they set the limit at 10,000. But you can have more, but you have to have different facilities and for the sake of the welfare.
They have it broken down to a space per chicken, right? Like that's how they do that too. Is like each chicken needs like a meter square or whatever they've determined.
And outdoor access.
Yeah, but don't they do it for indoor for chickens too? Indoor, they need to have a certain
Yeah.
space, and outdoor they have a certain space.
And there is now in the standard there is a new clause about chicken. It is that no chicken should be more than 15 meters from a pup hole. If you don't have, so you have to ensure that the chicken can have access to the outdoors. And if you're building a new barn, you have to have a barn with one pup hole every second meter.
Is that a door?
An exit, but an exit large enough to allow more than one bird to go out. You should read your standard. If I didn't have screen problems, I would show you where it is. Section 6.12. Read that. You will hope you would be a chicken. So, but they have emphasized animal welfare on the last review, and yeah. But the thing is that many people think that chicken, they are not predators; they are the victims from predators, and so there are some varieties of chicken, they don't want to have trouble, they just want to hide and live very quietly, and they wouldn't go outdoors. So you have to train them to go outdoors. Some of it depends on genetics, but outdoor access was very emphasized at the last review. Excuse me. So, can a flock be split so that use of the outdoor area is rotated between groups? So if so, does the total area required diminish? No, our friend the birds can be outdoor all together at the same time with enough space to be happy. Does the requirement for a 36-month transition of land for crop production apply to the outdoor runs required to permit poultry access to the outdoors? Any idea? Yes? No? Yes, you have to. You have to be able to prove that there were no prohibited substances there for the last 3 years, because the chicken, they do a lot of things.
Can I ask you something about that? If the land has to be 36 months chemical free, but you're a chicken producer, do you then still have to apply 15 months in advance and go through pre-cert on your land before you can start doing chicken production?
And the land doesn't belong to you?
No, if you own the land.
No, in that case, you have to show that the affidavit that proves that the land was free from prohibited pesticides for 3 years.
What if they were first time producer?
Yeah, first time.
I know, then it's a lot of trouble. Excuse me. No, then no, when it is the first time, you have to have the 12-month overview.
Pre-cert for the land, and then you can start the chicken.
For the land, it's more for the paper. It's to show your organic plan and show how you do the organic production. Piglets shall not be weaned before 2, 4, or 6 weeks. 4. Organic greenhouse production. A nice thing here. We had a lot of discussions. Now the organic growers are allowed to grow crops in containers, and there were no minimal soil volume that was required in containers. So there were heavy discussions because hydroponics is prohibited in organic production. So in organic greenhouse production, is there a minimal quantity of soil that shall be used when growing tutorized crops in containers? No, the producer adjusts the soil quantity to each crop. Yes, minimum of soil should equal 70 liters by square meter, or yes, minimum soil volume should equal 100 liters by square meter. Yes and yes, or no? Yes, there is a minimal soil requirement, volume requirement. Actually, it is 70 liters. Okay, it is 70 liters, but we are amending the standard now, and it will go down to 60 because it was coming from a Quebec influence. In Quebec, they had an internal rule for greenhouse that would require 100 liters per square meter. But at the same time, like in Ontario, there was no Ontario growers were under the Canadian organic standards, not under the intra-Quebec provincial standard that was more severe. So when we reviewed the standard, the Quebec people said, yes, we need volume, we have 100, they agreed to go to 70, but then the Ontario growers say, hey, it's the first time we are imposed the soil volume, so give us a chance to figure out how to do that. So we amended the standard and we came to a minimum of 60. We consulted many experts to make sure that 60 is enough to show that it is organic. About organic sprouts, shoots, and microgreens produced in water or soil. The use of organic seeds is mandatory, or non-organic seeds can be used if organic seeds are not commercially available. Because shoots, microgreens and sprouts, we are harvested at a young age. Mandatory. If harvested before 30 days. Because, so there's no escape, you have to have organic seeds. Because the consumer would say, well, the grower would use non-organic seed, and after 2 weeks, suddenly it is an organic sprout. So it was not considered to be admissible. What is the size of the minimal buffer zone around organic apiaries? 3 kilometers, but because it is bees are, we have problems with bees, and 3 kilometers is quite a distance to have absolutely no prohibited substances. So the working group decided that if where the hive is, if there is an abundance of forage plus some geographical features that would prevent the bees from traveling over, then that would be okay to have a smaller buffer zone, because we want to encourage organic apiculture, because bees are suffering and they are threatened by chemicals. So it is 3 kilometers, but as I said, if the bees have a lot of forage around the hive and there is a river or a mountain, and then that the bees will not travel over to reach some bad places where they would get poisoned. So it is admissible, but it is a case-by-case situation.
And that is for the production of honey? Is that?
Yeah. So this is one of the cartoons I like the most. It is the guy, hey, you know that stuff you put out in the garden, better read the label again. So This is the one I like the most. It's why we like organics. About input approval. Who is responsible for approving the inputs that you use? The Canadian Food Inspection Agency, your certifying body, or OMRI?
The certifying.
Yeah, certifying body. Are the seeds used to grow green manure crops intended for incorporation into the soil required to be organic? No, yes?
No.
Yes. Oh yes, the interpretation committee answered to that question a year ago, I think. That was heavily discussed, but it isn't.
But if you can't,
If you can't, you can use non-organic seeds that are not treated with.
and non-GMO.
Yeah,
Non-GMO, yeah.
but yeah, but
So then what changed that? Because that's always been like that.
no, but that was not clear about green manure and cover crops and all these types of not secondary, but this is not the main commercial crop that you would grow. So it is to precise that when you grow green manure or you use it, you use cover crops. There is still an organic requirement behind of that because it is in the soil.
That way, hasn't it?
Yeah, but we have questions about this.
This is only if you have a plow down?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
if you're using it, like if you're baling that green in your crop, do you have to have all organic seed?
It depends on what you do with the bale. You're baling it for what?
Green manures, you're incorporating it back into soil.
Are all types of fully biodegradable mulches allowed? I know in Saskatchewan you don't use a lot of these. But there was a huge issue a year ago about this because there were some biodegradable mulches that were developed for horticulture, and people like to put this, to help to control weeds. And the question is, are all types of fully biodegradable mulches allowed? No. Why?
Because I think some of them still have something.
If there is some if the feedstock, la matière première, if it is derived from petrol, even if the petrol would disintegrate totally, even if you have a biodegradability diploma for your product, because in Italy they developed a mulch that was made from corn, non-GE corn, but there were some petroleum residues in it. That it biodegrades. Petroleum comes from the soil, but you cannot use it in organic production. Is seawater allowed in organic production?
Why would you want to know about seawater?
If you live by the sea, I don't know. It is allowed. It is water. It is natural water. Can uncertified garlic be used as a dewormer? Ugh. Yes, it is under botanical compounds in table 5.3 that is about animal health. Are nitrates forbidden in all processed foods? Is it possible to produce organic bacon? Yes, with what?
Natural.
From?
Celery.
Oh, you know your standard.
I buy bacon.
About labeling, can the EU logo be applied to grain certified under the Canada organic regime and sold in the EU?
Yes.
Yes, we have full equivalency with the EU standard. We're lucky if you're lucky if you export there. What is the organic science cluster? A research activity to improve organic grape production, a group of researchers dedicated to organic wine production, a Canadian project including many research activities in organic agriculture. Why do you? What is it?
Wine.
Wine? What is it?
Number 3.
This is number 3. Because of the word cluster, people, oh, there is, the Organic Federation of Canada that I represent, we are teaming with, do you know the OECD, the Organic Agriculture Center of Canada? We have received $10 million over 5 years to conduct 37 activities in organic agriculture. We are in the 4th year of this program. Many of the activities are done in Saskatchewan by Dr. Steve Shirtliff, by Miriam Fernandez, and there is another researcher, I'm forgetting the name, and also Martinens. Maybe you've heard about Martinens in Manitoba. He's teaming, he has a participatory breeding project, and many Saskatchewan growers are involved. They are trying to find what are the best varieties for growing organic grain. So if you Google Organic Science Cluster, you will have the description of all the 37 organic activities with a very nice budget of $10 million. Oof, you survived. Okay.